Welcome to Lounging with Laurie, the Sisterhood Collective podcast. If you've ever wondered what small steps can lead to big change, or how to break through challenges to create a fulfilling life, you have come to the right place. I'm Loz, and this podcast is all about real women sharing their stories, sharing their lessons, and the actions that have helped them grow and thrive. With a mix of my own experiences and inspiring conversations with women just like you, we're creating a space where you'll laugh, learn, and leave ready to take action. Let's dive in. This is Lounging with Laurie, the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Have you ever found yourself filling your calendar with things you said yes to, but kind of out of obligation, and then realizing you've lost all this precious time for what you actually want to do? And that's why my word for this year is authenticity. For me, it's all about fewer distractions. I really want to stay true to my goals, and it's about me. I'm choosing me. And I chose the word authenticity because for me, it's time for less distractions and detours. And I seem to be a squirrel, like something bright and shiny comes along and I'm like, boom, and then my attention has gone to something else. But this year, I want to stay on path, and I want that path to feel aligned with who I am. And I kind of have an idea of where I want to go. So I want to stay on that path for that reason. And I'm done with people pleasing. I've done it a lot. I think a lot of us have. And I'm done with saying yes to things that keep me from this trajectory that I'm really wanting to pursue this year. I've been really focusing on my health, which I kind of started in December. I made it my priority physically, but very much nutritionally. And now I'm trying to bring in that mental piece as well. And I want to prioritize growth in my businesses, one of which is the sisterhood. The moment for me this became really clear, which is recently, was when I noticed that resentment creeping in, because something was taking up a chunk of my time and pulling me away from my goals. Like when I literally run out of time for the gym, which is really important to me because of work or administration or some of my mentoring clients, the fur babies, of course, and all those things that distract you or take you away or take that time away from you, otherwise known as life, of course, right? And we all have so much going on, and I get that, but it's just really, come to my attention. So now I'm intentionally choosing how I spend my time. And I feel like I need to be reminded of this quite frequently, actually, but I'm focusing on the things that lead to the lifestyle and the dreams that I have, because yours are different to mine, and as they should be, of course. Mealtime or meal prepping, for example, takes time, but that's okay at the moment because it's aligning with my vision for my life in that health aspect. So it's worth it to me. And I think that's a way of thinking about your time and what your priorities are, because you will spend time on things that you choose to spend time on. Like if fitness isn't your goal, the idea of going to the gym is not a priority for you and you won't spend time on it. So that's just one way I'm looking at life this year. The conversation really hit home for me because I guess I've been there in this burnout phase before. Like last year, in 2024, from April to around June last year, I was running myself totally into the ground. I took on this contract, which had me working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And I have no problem with working long hours. That's not the issue. But I was also mentoring at 5 a.m. Then I would head to the contract. And when I got back to the hotel at night, I'd be back mentoring again at 7 p.m. or doing some other sort of stuff, But by the time I even thought about dinner or even just having a simple shower, it was 8:30 p.m. or even later. And so there was zero time for me to hit the gym. There was zero time for me to connect with people through personal messages and things like that, or even do any sort of admin for, my mentoring clients, which is my responsibility, my businesses, my own personal administration. And let's not forget my other two companies. And of course, Lauren and I I don't know why we did this, but at that time, we decided to, take on a launch of something as well. So that was taking obviously more time as you prep into something like that. And as if that wasn't enough, I was also dealing with wrapping up the coffee shop. If you remember, I owned Lulu's by the Lake back in Australia. I also had a legal battle going on. I guess at that time I had just so many emails coming through and it wasn't really working in my favor. Like even the lawyer I had hired wasn't working for me, or it certainly didn't feel like it. So it was relentless and I barely made it through those 9 weeks. But when it was all done, I was completely spent. Almost broke down, of course. I took a week off. I hid in a hotel in Dubai just to reset because I knew if I didn't, I'd literally fall apart completely. And I don't even know what that would look like for me. But that week was the first time I truly, had exhaled in months. I remember just taking myself out to dinner and just stopping in the moment to be present. But it was certainly a very, very tough time where I could hardly breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I was talking to a friend on a little road trip I had to take myself on yesterday, and she's one of my great friends back in Australia. And it just reminded me of a time of that particular time and how easy it is to fall into that overgiving trap when you're not grounded in your authentic self. We all want to be there for others, but when we sacrifice ourselves in that process, we lose twice. And that's why authenticity, can't even say the word, should it be my word? It isn't just a nice idea for me. It's essential for me to stay strong. And I've actually put some thought into what I want my focus to be. And I think having that word somewhere in my office and as a reminder each day it's what I want to see, just to remind me every day. Another huge part of living authentically is learning when to say no and recognizing when it's time to set boundaries. That's been a game changer. I never wanted to say no. Not everyone would probably think I am a people pleaser, but I'm absolutely a people pleaser. Everyone cares what everyone thinks about or what other people think of you. Well, most people do. And although even I'm trying to not worry about that so much anymore, and I'm getting better, I think we all start there in that space where we are people pleasing. But trust me, saying no doesn't come naturally to everyone, as you probably know, especially if you're used to being someone that everybody depends on. I've had to make some tough decisions in my life that may have looked like sacrifices to others, but to me, they were choices to stay true to what I needed. I don't want to follow everybody else and live their life. I'm living this one for me. I left my job in Iraq to be closer to my partner way, way back. I left the UAE in 2015 to pour everything into Ultra CrossFit at the time, which was my first business. And then and heaps of other things along the way. But about 2 years ago, I halved my mentoring client list as well. I was starting to spend a lot of time on mentoring, and I love that. And I went from over 40 personal clients to a number that just felt sustainable for me. So I could actually focus on my goals and I guess get that balance, that wheel of life balance. And now I've stopped taking on new clients. When I knew my plate was full, that was something I decided to do. And let me tell you, even saying that, no, I can't take on any more, I'm full, was hard for me because I want to help people and I love what I do. But sometimes setting boundaries isn't just about work. It's about your whole life. It can be simple, planning your week. So I don't book business responsibilities on certain days. I carve out that time for the things that matter to me. I'm very good at time blocking actually, and separating the businesses or the lines of operations that I'm working on. So cutting away the responsibilities, tasks, and sometimes even people that no longer align with your vision in this kind of cycle or part of your life, I think that's okay. It's worked for me anyway. And I don't think saying no is a weakness. It's in fact one of the strongest things you can do, because when you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to the things that fill your cup, that light up your life, and you move towards your dreams. I've had a few choices where I've had to choose me, or I've maybe gone against what other people have thought. And I love that saying, you do have the choice. You can choose any direction. You can choose anything you want. And I think everybody has choice. We just don't necessarily take hold of it. But one of the biggest decisions I made in the name of authenticity was leaving the UAE. And all the money that came with that back in 2015, it was a really large income. But at the time for me, I had this realization that no amount of money in a toxic work environment was worth sacrificing my health or my happiness or even my growth. As I said, Ultra CrossFit was my first business and it was struggling while I'd been away for the 2 years because I hadn't put the systems and processes in place. I hadn't invested in the staff enough to, help train them to do the things. And it certainly wasn't profitable. And that made sense at the time. So then I had to invest in, or just sit down and have a think, what do you really want? And I realized that I was paying people to live a lifestyle that I kind of wanted to live. So I went home to rebuild it. I knew that rebuilding wouldn't be easy, but I also knew that staying here in the UAE at that time would break me. You start to lose yourself when you're not happy or when you're working in this toxic environment. It overtakes your life and it gives you these feelings and these anxieties that you never thought, or that it's really hard to break from those. And you really lose yourself. I think you stop doing the things that you love. But that decision led me to seek mentorship. And that really has completely changed my path. 3 years later, after 6 months of some training, I became a mentor myself. And honestly, that was a turning point that has really shaped the life I'm living today. The ethos of helping others and the skills I've learned, it's lit me up and it's given me purpose and I'm happy. Another part of staying authentic is recognizing when your friendships no longer serve you, or when you're heading in a different direction to them. Over time, I've backed off from people who were too self-serving or whose interests were pulling us apart. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't mean that the friendship didn't matter or that it wasn't important at that time. But sometimes moving forward means letting go of connections that aren't aligned anymore. And again, I also think that's okay. And I mean, this principle kind of also works in business. It applies, and it's important. If staff members aren't performing, it's better to let them go sooner rather than later. It can feel harsh in the moment, and also it's a tough conversation that you might have to have. But ultimately, it's the best thing for both sides because a lack of alignment doesn't hurt the business. It holds them back and your business will crumble because it spreads, right? That whatever the pain point is in that relationship in the business, it spreads. And the clients start to see this as well. But when you make these tough calls and you have these tough conversations, you're making space for people who will thrive in the role and they'll contribute to your vision. You want people that want to grow. If it's a personal relationship, grow with you. If it's a business relationship, help you grow the business and in turn grow themselves. So what all these decisions have in common is clarity. Clarity about what I need and what aligns with my goals. And that's what living authentically is about. It's choosing to live in a way that reflects, I guess, who you are, even when it's uncomfortable, or it means making hard decisions or goes against what society or somebody expects you to do. So here's my challenge for you this week. I want you to take a moment to look at your life and ask yourself, where am I saying yes when I really need to say no? Because maybe it's a work obligation you took on out of guilt, or maybe it's showing up for someone else when you're running on empty. Whatever it is, choose one thing that isn't serving you and find a way to shift it, even if it's as simple as postponing it or setting a boundary, because small steps equal big wins. Big, huge, love them. And that's kind of what I did as I transitioned from 2024 into 2025. I had to do a little bit of reflection. I wrote down all my businesses. I wrote down all my lines of operation. I looked at the wheel of life and all the categories in there and where I'm actually sitting right now, that self-assessment, and thought, what needs to change for me? I also want you to reflect a little bit about what authenticity means to you. And so if you do look at that wheel of life and you do that little exercise like I did, it's being more honest with yourself about what you need. It's saying no without guilt. Or maybe it's even finally making a space for the things you've been pushing aside in favor for someone else's priorities, like people around you, people in the household, people at work, your friends. But write it down and sit with it and just see how it feels. Like I sometimes think you need things to marinate just for a little bit. It isn't about flipping your whole life upside down overnight and just completely changing everything. Authenticity is built one choice at a time, be brave. It's an honest step. It's honest because it's honest to you, and it's a step in the direction of your truth. And you don't have to do it alone. You can share your wins, questions, and even if you've got some tough moments, you throw them in the lounge room, because I'm there cheering you on every step of the way. I'm there answering any questions that you have. You can DM us and ask or tell us about your situation. I'd love to support you as well. But you know what? I can guarantee you've got a friend out there or a mentor or somebody that wants this for you also. So share it with them. Put it out there to the universe. Remind yourself of this. Next episode, we're going to be looking at endings and new beginnings and how to let go of what's weighing you down, like that anchor, to create space for something better. It's going to be a very powerful conversation and I can't wait to share it with you. But thanks for spending time with me today. Short and sweet. Just remember, you are stronger than you think you are. We all are. And you're very capable of living an authentic life that lights you up. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us on the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you want to be the first to hear what is new at Sisterhood Collective, you can find out more on our Instagram, or you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter and let the good times continue to roll. Now it's time to turn your clear vision into bold action. I'm Laurie Drummond, your host, and until next time, keep striving to live that best life. Take care, and we'll see you soon.